Okay, this is the Dove Lady, and I want to give a few illustrations of the light that I see that turns into orbs and that I photograph now. And this is a drawing I want to show you. Let's see, how can I get the light on it best so you can actually see it. Well, I'll bring it in a little closer. Maybe that'll do it. Okay. This is supposed to be like my nose. I'm trying to draw a picture of what it's like. And right here is my eye. But it doesn't look like an eye. When I see it outside of my body, I see it as a flap. And I think I had explained in the last video how when my third eye opens and closes, as I'm seeing it in the light, I see this flap right here that just opens and closes with the opening and closing of my own eye. So I think it's my third eye I'm seeing outside my body. And there's all these little colorful bubbles that cling to either side of these flaps here. This is a flap and that's a flap. And this light that's coming out from inside my eye and going into this bigger expansion of an orb that is always moving. And it's like my eye is biting into a big orb, which it looks like sometimes it hasn't quite gotten through it, but it can see into it. And all this color goes into the orb. First, when I would see the orb with all these little things floating around, well, they weren't very colorful. They were more like black and white. But then over time they began to be colorful. And sometimes I think the color comes from us, our observation. Maybe the color is showing our emotion. Now, these little things you see here, I have better explanations of them. I want to show you here. I'm looking into the light, and right here would be the light source. The light is very close to me. And there's little circles that form. And I see a circle with my right eye and a circle with my left eye, the orb. And each has different kinds, some similar but some different kinds of things that float about in the orb. Like with my right, I don't see the same thing I see on the left. And I have a picture of something that is rather large. But one day on the left side, I saw a black hole. And it had concentric circles of white all around it. And then over time, it quit being just black and it started having a little swirly looking color of white in there. And just the other day, and this has been months, sometimes I don't look at this. This I don't photograph because I can't photograph this. But the other day when I was looking at it, and I don't look at it every day, but the other day, this was kind of a light blue, and there was some pink in there. It was getting color as well, where before it was only black and white. But that's an exaggerated size. It's really small, and it's only seen with my left eye in the orb. Now, this is just a little illustration of some of the little things that float around that I call GTLs, gossamer tubes of light, or you could say gossamer threads, because some of them are real tiny and they look like you took some thread and just moved it in your finger and bunched it up. It's very weird. Doesn't look like intelligence, but I believe it is. Now, one time, when I was in a very sad kind of a feeling as I was looking at the light, because the light responds to emotion. Real happy, maybe real sad, but I was sad that day. And it was like I traveled inside the light visually, not physically, of course. And I went through all these little tubes and things. It was like, it would be like saying if you were swimming in seaweed and you're just moving through the seaweed, and you see the next little clump of seaweed as you get past one. Anyway, these little tubes, I'll show you this. They were little tubes. And I got to go up real close vision-wise to the tube, and I'll show you what it looked like. The tube that I was looking at while I was feeling very emotional, there was a cut, because this was longer. There was a cut on this side and a cut on that side. I saw that happen, these two cuts come. And a portion of the tube was removed from the tube. And what ran through the tube, you could see it. It was like it was visible. It wasn't closed in. Maybe I was just supposed to see what was running through these little tubes. And it looked like a lot of little diamonds. That's what it looked like. Or little crystals or something like that. And I always felt like maybe that part was cut out and given to me somehow. In some kind of way that I can't really show you except with this little example. I made this out of clay and some little beads because I wanted to remember it visually. But anyway, I think this is part of seeing with your third eye. I think that I have a third eye that is beginning to open, but it's not all the way open. And the reason I think it's not all the way open is I think I would have more answers. I still have a lot of questions. But I began wanting to show people the little orbs of light that I also see. Not the great big one. I can't possibly get that one. I can pray about it. Maybe I will someday be able to show that. The really huge big one that I look into, in the orbs that I take pictures of now, only portions of what is in that are in those smaller orbs that I can get visual pictures of. And I just want to show you here are some of the ways the little gossamer tubes of light look. They're kind of like a worm, kind of like a worm that has little bubbles of light in it. And sometimes it's intermingled with other, like a huge orgy of worms there, see? All tangled up together. And sometimes it's just straight lines. But sometimes it's lines like this that form a little shape of a sort, kind of like a little boat. And they just move together. Everything that moves inside this orb doesn't seem to be making any other thing it moves beside have to move out of its way. Nothing seems to be eating something else, like when you see amoeba under the microscope. A little creature is moving pretty much directed by his own self, and he's eating at everything. But these don't move as if self-directed. They move as a group, and they don't interfere with other groups of moving things just like them. I know this sounds weird, but that's the only way I can explain it. And sometimes when I'm seeing the light, it sends out all this colorful rays of light that go out to me to meet my eyes, and that part of the rays go out and they seem to come to where my chin is. And this tube, this orb, can turn and just distort its shape, but it still looks like the orb because it just looks like an orb that is lengthening, folding, crunching itself up, doing all kinds of things. And I was attempting to draw a picture of that portion of one of the tubes that I saw. That time I was very emotional, and it cut a portion of itself on either side. And I made that model of it. And I'll see if there's any other pictures I want to show you in here. I was trying to illustrate it as best I could. Sometimes the orb does this. it turns on its side and looks like a quarter. And when you see it on its side, it looks real thin. But when it's opened up circle-wise, it has a lot of dimension in it. So I was just trying to draw a few of the little weird things here that I see. Here's a drawing of one of the orbs that I was looking at with my right eye. And I say that because here's this little form right here that always is almost always in the same place. And I've named it because when you see something a lot, you finally name it. And I named it the geisha girl because it always looks like this, and it reminds me of a geisha girl bent over, maybe giving a massage to someone's feet or something. But it's always there, and it's on the right side. Now, the one that was a black hole, that was on my left side of seeing orbs with my left eye. Anyway, instead of just showing these drawings to you, I want to show you what I have been doing with my book of light. So I can get back from it. Book of light. Not showing up because I don't have the light too right. Okay, there it goes. I got this at a rummage sale, this book. I'm always going to those places. And I have highly decorated it with beads and everything that shine in the light. And inside of it, I have pictures of the orbs I've taken and made hard copy of. That's one I thought was so beautiful, because you can see how these orbs just pass through one another. They don't seem to interfere. They seem to always share. And here's one that looks like a wave. I think that looks like a wave. And sometimes they have so much color in them. It's just unbelievable. And it's not like the colors of a rainbow that are certain colors always in a certain pattern. No, these colors just intermingle and do all kinds of things. And look at this one. Move it around. That was very complex looking, like sacred geometry or something. This is maybe several orbs, but it's like looking into the quantum world. And I was listening to a man talking about in the quantum world, 2 and 2 doesn't necessarily equal 4. It's a very mysterious world because, see, these orbs, they fold up like a scroll. When you think of a book of light, well, this that I'm capturing, well, I don't have it in the center yet. Okay, these orbs can just fold up and roll up like a scroll, or they can unwind and be round and take on different colors. I'm thinking I need to move my camera a little bit. See, like this one on the bottom, all those colors. I will be showing you many of them on my computer screen. But here's a good example. When I'm looking at the light, what it does as it comes to my eyes is all the rays break into many, many colors. And they just shower over me. And it's like there's dimensions within them. And lately I'm seeing some of the more round orbs amongst these rays of light. There's a couple of orbs, 2 different colors there. I've got all kinds of pictures of them. And sometimes I get up real close inside of one where you don't see the roundness. And I just get the inside, a portion of the inside of the orb. Now, I will tell you something about my cameras. One of my cameras, I only have 2 cameras. One of my cameras, my older one, and it has what people call artifacts in it. That means something that has gotten on the inside workings of it. But these artifacts that I see in that camera are very interesting in the fact that what they look like is what sometimes orbs have in them that isn't an artifact. My other camera captures some things that look like what's an artifact in the older camera. And they always have these two eyes. See, this was taken with my older camera. I can always tell because the two eyes will always be right there in that position. Let me get that where you can see it. I'll show you this better when I show you it online. But see, the orbs just go crazy. They just can look like anything, and you can capture them outdoors. This is not working out too well. Oh, this one I think is so funny looking. Look at that orb. It looks like it went inside of itself and then went through itself and out of itself. They can do anything. You know, I wonder why people call light being either a particle or a wave, because I see it being so many things and so many colors, and it's tubes, it's fans, it's twisting, it's just so many things. Okay, this is not working out too well with the book and the hard copy. So what I will do is put this aside and show you some of them by way of my computer screen, which is easier. Now, when I was trying to discover all I could about orbs, I had to look into ectoplasma. Ectoplasma is a destructive energy, is what I'm finding out. And it's something mediums use to entertain or to get information from the dead. And as I read in the book, The Secret Science, this is not good. And the reason it's not good is because there's a shell of a person left that needs to move on into the light. But when people on Earth want to communicate with a loved one, they'll communicate with their shell, and it's not really them. And it keeps them from going on further into the light, and it drains the medium also of her sitting out looking, and this ectoplasma. Now, you might say, this is a fake photo, and I couldn't prove to you that it wasn't. I found it on Google. But I've read a lot about this ectoplasma. They came out of mediums, and it would come out their noses, their eyes, their mouth, sometimes their belly button. It just came out any opening in their body. And it had little faces, and in some of the time it would make an apparition of a person right beside you. But it's not good, because the mediums themselves suffered a lot of drain of their energy, and some of them died young. So what I'm getting, I don't call it ectoplasma. It is a light plasma of a sort, and the sun makes it, and a light in your room makes it. Any light makes this happen. When you concentrate the light on something like a marble or anything made of glass or anything that shines. This is some orbs that I made appear by holding the glass marble in such a way, and I got the trees in the background. I did this one outside. Here's another one I did outside. I think if I put this on play, they'll be bigger. Okay. And this is quite beautiful. I like taking outdoor pictures of orbs. Sometimes I get a lot of color in them. Now see, this orb, I think probably I was inside when I made this. All around us is light vibrating and carrying colors and shapes, and I even think creatures, light creatures, and they're beautiful. Their art is just out of this world, the way they blend colors, and they can look so in-depth. Now this was one that folded up, and I used my abilities of Picasso to write into here, because it looks to me like a scroll. And I wrote some of Walter Russell's words. I put, "Deep within my heart are questionings which I must answer in words for which there are no words." And you might like to listen to me reading some of Walter Russell's books. I read several of them. One I read is called The Divine Iliad 1, and there's The Divine Iliad 2, and then there's The Secret of Light, and then there is one that's very hard to understand because it gets really deep into science, and it's called The Universal One. And I attempt to read that book, but I have to tell you, when I was reading it, it lost me in the scientific jargon that it was using. But another person, I kept thinking, well, if someone else who understands this, understands science better than me, they might get something from this. So I do have a lot of views on it, and people are looking at it. I wish they would get back with me and tell me what it means to them. And then sometimes orbs have these concentric circles that are around a little light center like you see here. This I can see with the naked eye. Only I see a panorama of these little areas that have all these colors around them. It's spread out almost like a net. And I see this with the naked eye when I'm looking at the reflection off of the glass. It's like it shows me other dimensions all around. But they're not dimensions of anything but just more and more of these kind of little landscapes, and some of them like are turned. I'll show you with my hand. I'll look at a landscape that way, and it may be all flat, but then I'll look at one and it may be in this direction, or it may be in another direction. It's like these light dimensions are just so numerous. All of them are pretty similar that I've seen, but they seem to exist on different planes, different levels. And we're enveloped in them, but we don't know it because you can't see them unless you see them as I'm showing you them with these pictures. Now, I don't know that what I'm showing you is something that is very tiny, or maybe that is very much not of this dimension, but yet we can see it under these ways of showing it with taking pictures real close of light that is shining off of something. They're trying to find the tiniest thing inside the atom with a great big super collider, Hadron Collider, which costs millions of dollars. And I'm thinking, well, maybe billions or trillions of dollars. That is one expensive setup they have there. I hope they're discovering something very good, but I wish they would look at this, because I think what we're seeing with these pictures of this light is something that is in the nucleus of the atom. Because there's a fireball. I read this in one of the books that I read that was a hermetic book, that inside of each atom is a fireball in the center. And it's an intelligence. So I'm looking at an intelligence. Now this is taken with my old camera. There's the two eyes. And my new camera, when I take a picture of orbs, it doesn't put the two eyes in it. So, but the old camera is the one that has artifacts in it, like I told you. This was probably taken with my new camera because I don't see any artifacts in that. I'm thinking that the artifacts in that older camera are something that's living inside my camera, because the reason I say living is because at first I only saw one or two, and over a time I started seeing more and more of the artifacts as if they were increasing their number. And it's just like, well, maybe the cameras are able to capture different portions of the light, the two different cameras. My new camera took this picture, and you don't see a lot of artifacts, but you see a lot of circles. All of these orbs have lots and lots of round circles with concentric circles around them. And they're of so many descriptions, and the beauty of the way they blend the colors together. It's like amazing to me all the time. Sometimes they'll be rather dull. This one is kind of a rather dull color. With a band of light, I didn't get the complete circle of it. They don't all make circles, though, as you will see. Some of the, maybe I will get into those pictures. Well, I've got words in here because I use this as part of a demonstrating in orb pictures something a man called Bill Donahue was teaching about how we need to learn to communicate photon to photon, and that is how we do talk to the deceased. Not with the ectoplasm, not with doing it that way, but learning how to talk photon to photon, and not just with our voice, because in that world, in that place where they go, they don't have eyes and ears. They don't have bodies like we have. And portions of that place don't have eyes and ears. I think maybe as you go from life to life and you evolve more, you might have more capacities as a body in between lives, according to what you've earned by the way you lived your life. But that's another discussion altogether. We're looking at orb pictures here. This one I think is real beautiful. I even think that just for art, if you hung something like this on your wall, a big picture of this, it would really add a lot of color to your room. Kind of like abstract art. So many of them I've thought I would like to have a really big blown up picture of them. And I'm thinking I'm going to do that quite soon. But I'll just take you through a few of these rather quickly. Sometimes the orbs have these lines that look like these. And everything inside of one of these orbs is a portion of light that can go out on its own and become another orb, maybe thousands of other orbs. The way the elements of the orb work together is they all have freedom and they all share. And they can just look so many ways as they travel through the medium of glass that I use to get their picture. I hope I'm looking at the tiniest thing that we can possibly see, and that someday I can learn a kind of communication that can happen. I see sometimes they just come all unraveled as they stretch themselves, and you can see this is the orb because it has the telltale little rings around the edges of it. And see this one bent over and just kind of covered like a cap. Another bunch of orbs that are just looking like this. I can't tell you what they're doing. I have no idea. Look at this array of, this would make a beautiful picture to put somewhere. And it shows you many orbs. I couldn't tell you how many these are. And they have the ability in them to just combine with or leave another orb. Sometimes they leave and I see a big hole where a lot of the color has just fallen out of an orb and into another one maybe. I get up so close inside the orb sometimes just to get some of this real brilliant color and the interweavings of color that they do inside themselves. And see this right here I'm showing you with the arrow. This is the edge of one of the orbs that has the concentric rings around it. They all seem to have, pretty much all of them have that telltale thing that shows, well, this is an orb, but it's not in its round shape, it's moving. I think we need to understand the movement of energy, because orbs are light and light is energy. and to understand the way they move about, the way they interact. Seems like that would be a very wonderful thing to study. Sometimes wish I had some other minds working on this with me that will investigate it still further than I do. I do it quite a lot. I'm kind of addicted now to taking pictures of orbs. They interest me so much. And I guess maybe there's a little pride or something there because I discovered them. Maybe someone has discovered them before, but I don't know who. If you know, let me know. This one looks like an ocean wave crashing down. And see the depth in there of that? Gosh, I'm at 30 minutes. But you see what these orbs do, how they move and intermingle with other orbs and just form all kinds of colors. And I bet the colors indicate something too. But all this surrounds us, invisibly surrounds us. I compare it sometimes to dark matter because they talk about how most of space is filled with dark matter. Well, we have space right here in our world, in our rooms. We have the space between me and any object I look at. But that space is not empty. We may think it's empty because we can see through it to see the object, but it is full. It is full of these kind of things. This one, when it came out, the light source is just right there. It came out with a hole already in it. And see on their side, they look like a biplane wing or something. You know, they look like those two are a matched pair or something because they're so close, like a pancake to one another. And see, as they move, they make a long tube-like thing. And then they go into another orb that may fold up like a scroll, which this one is doing. I caught this one at various movements that it would be making. So you can see there how this light travels. And one orb just adjusts itself into another orb. And guess what? It's according to how I hold the camera or how I look at it. So the observer is conditioning this light as well. We are part of this light, and our viewing of it, our understanding is a big important part of getting some information from photons. We want to be enlightened by the light, and studying its movements is a good way. Now see, this orb right here, another orb just moved into it and then disappeared into it, maybe, because sometimes they just disappear. You don't see them again, I guess because we move our eyes away from them. Because when I would take the camera and move it certain ways, I could recreate this, leaving that orb and being a separate one, or turning it back a different way so that it again entered into that one. So this light is in conjunction with us, and as we view it, we ourselves are conditioning it, I think. I don't say that in a way that I can talk with authority, like I really know. It's my conjecturing is all. Because I have observed this light for so long now, I'm seeing its actions. And it's fascinating me. It continues to fascinate me. And since I'm using up so much time now, I'm getting at 34 minutes. I'm going to go rather fast. This orb I thought was really interesting. I got some words in it that were from that Photon to Photon. You might want to watch that. It's one of my videos called Photon to Photon. I illustrated with orbs a man's words that was talking about photons. And see, sometimes they develop deep holes in them and the color falls out. That was a strange looking one. Some of them aren't so brightly colored. They're more of the earth tones. Sometimes a beam will run right through an orb. I've seen that in orbs that people capture in their videos. They seem to be an orb that has a line right through it. Like I say, they can have anything in them. Sometimes it even looks like I see what looks like a face. I know we make faces out of everything. I can look at the pattern of the tile on the floor and make faces out of things all the time, just with my imagination. You see how these concentric circles with concentric rings around them appear all into this? It's very interesting. I've had some people comment, "Oh, you're using a microscope to look at light." And I think they think I'm using one of those really expensive microscopes. But I'm not. I'm just using a piece of glass, and I've shown that many times in my videos. Now in this one, a whole lot of dark material started enveloping this orb here and just completely almost covered it. See how in this one, this part is dark. The dark just moves in and amongst these light colored orbs. And I don't know, I think the dark is very useful, but sometimes it looks intrusive. But what do I know? I just get pictures that I don't know what I'm looking at. Sometimes the orb will get a hole in it, like this one. Isn't that interesting? Big old hole in it. And look, it got bigger. I'll watch it and I'll see a hole developing and it gets really big. It looks like a cave almost that you could walk into if you were in that world. And on its side, this orb would look like a thin quarter laying on its side. Kind of like galaxies, when you see them on their side, they look very, very thin. Look how colorful this one was. And that's one I have words in. Sometimes they have a lot of holes in them. I get a lot of orbs that way that have, they're holy orbs. They have lots of holes. Oh, and I remember this one. I could get several that were in this shape, but they would all be somehow a little different from the next one. They get oblong and they just thin out like a ribbon. They make what looks like bridges, colorful rainbow bridges. They get all jumbled up looking. They can look rather rather ordered, and then suddenly get all disordered looking. But within a nanosecond, get ordered looking again. It's kind of like out of chaos comes order. But the chaos is very important because it's what the order brings from the chaotic condition. It's like these orbs pick and choose from a smorgasbord of colors what they want to put in themselves. And before they get quite organized, they look pretty disorganized. Kind of like my desk. Sometimes I can make it look very neat. And other times, when I'm doing a lot of work at my desk, it just looks cluttered. It's just going to have to stay that way because when I fix it up to look nice, within a day, I've gotten it all cluttered looking again. Look at this orb. It looks like it cut itself in two, and another orb is like being birthed out of it. Look at that one. I could take thousands of pictures of orbs because there are an infinity of them all around us. And no two alike. It's like no two snowflakes alike, no two grains of sand alike, no two leaves on a tree alike. They all have a little difference that makes them unique. I like this one, especially this arrangement of colors here. That's so beautiful. And the colors look so fuzzy, you know? Just fuzzy, and they've got these little circles in them. A big blob of green went into that area. Kind of colored the things that were there. As I'm looking at these orbs through the viewer of my camera, I'm seeing changing all the time colors. Sometimes I see something I really want to get, but before I snap the picture, it has changed to another color. Oops. These two guys, they came here. Let's see, I've got 41. I will only talk a little while because I'm about to run out of time. They're filmmakers. And I'm going to be in a documentary. Would you believe me? No one's ever paid attention that much to me. But they came here, and it was at such a convenient time because all the other members of the household were on vacation. So I was here alone, and I could entertain them with having them be able to spend the night there and here at the house, and there was an available bedrooms because the other people were gone. So they didn't have to get a hotel. This is Kashiar and his friend Graham. They filmed about 10 hours of me talking, and I don't know what all they're going to use in their documentary, but there's 3 people they interviewed for it, and I'm one of the 3. And I will be very excited to see this documentary when it's done, which they said maybe toward the end of the year it will be done. And they will be doing a premiere of it in Austin, Texas, real close to where I live. And I will attend a premiere that do I sound like I'm bragging? That I am one of the stars. No, I don't want to brag because what if it turns out really bad? It was fun while they were here because one of these guys is a vegetarian, Kashiar, and he has this friend, Graham, who likes to eat meat and had always wanted to go to a Texas kind of barbecue place. So what better place than Rudy's? So we went there. And he ate his big old sandwich, not quite all of it because it was so big he couldn't finish it. And Kashiar ate corn and potato salad or something like that. They have the best cream corn there. And I took pictures of them. And this is when they left. They packed up all their equipment in this little tiny car. And they left. It was getting late when they left, and I went outside, and it was not raining, I swear. There was no mist in the air. But I got orbs. This kind of orb. Like I say, orbs are all around us. People are putting pictures like this into videos that they put on YouTube channel, and I see them quite a lot. Some people think that they are intelligences that are around us observing us. That could be. And I will go back now. No, I won't, because I don't want to make this too much longer, because then I'm already at 44 minutes. But I was going to take you back. Well, I will take you to this one place real quick. There's a little creature that looks like this. And he's always falling down in my old camera, the one that has all the artifacts. He's always imposing himself. And I have given him a name. I call him Harry because he looks like a little hairy spider. Anyway, I have lots of pictures of Harry. because he drops into here, into the filming of Orbs. Sometimes when I don't see him, I say, "Harry, where are you?" And I look at one orb after another before I snap a picture, because I'm looking for the little guy. There he is there. He doesn't always show up. I don't get him every time I use that camera. And I've kind of felt like he's a friend. A friend, a light creature from another dimension, is a friend of mine. Sometimes I put a bunch of marbles together like I did here, and I use that to get the gleams of light. And then I have many, many orbs to look at, because each of these has little shiny spots on it, and they each turn into an orb when I get up real close to them. Anyway, I have talked enough, and I'm getting to too many minutes on here. This might not go through. So I will let you go and talk at you later. This is the Dove Lady, over and out for now.